Horizon Forbidden West has marked what I believe to be the final frontier in achievable visual quality. I mean, honestly, where the fuck do we go from this? You can see the peach fuzz on Aloy's face, the reflection of the environment on her eyes. The level of detail on display in this video game is nothing short of a technical marvel, and yet I can't help but feel like the difference in graphics between generations has only gotten smaller and smaller. Do you remember when GTA San Andreas was considered to be on the cutting edge of graphics back in 2004? I was 11 years old when this game came out. The only reason I even owned any GTA games was because my parents were immigrants who didn't know what Grand Theft Auto was. It's a racing simulator like that taxi game I play at the movies.
Y'all wanna play? Well then let's play! Hey, where you learn that from? Grand Theft Auto 3?
Okay, we'll get it for you, but you better let your little brother play. Jesus Christ, that was a horrible son. The crazy thing is, in the decade following San Andreas' release, I never once went back or even looked up videos about it as the internet and YouTube bloomed into what it is today.
A number 9 large, a number 6 with extra dip, a number 7, 2 number 45s, 1 with cheese, and a large soda.
It wasn't until I was in my 20s that I went back and looked at it, absolutely stunned that it looked like this. In my 11-year-old head, GTA San Andreas looked exactly like real life. That was the selling point for GTA after all. It's real life, and you can do whatever the color of your heart desires. As technology evolved, game developers and gamers both became hyper-fixated on getting games to look as close to real life as budgets allowed, a trend that has continued to this day. Here's some footage of Horizon Zero Dawn, max graphics on a PC. It was released on PC in 2020, but even in 2017, the PS4 was capable of some pretty impressive feats. Just look at how stunning The Last of Us 2 looked. Now here's Horizon Forbidden West on PS5. It very clearly looks better, but is the difference really that drastic? I'd argue that it isn't. Now, hold on, wait. Before you shred me to pieces in the comments, let me make one very important point. I am, and always have been, primarily a PC gamer. Graphics on PC have outclassed their console counterparts for nearly the entire history of gaming.
Can my computer run Crysis?
So many of these games are even designed on PCs first and scaled down for consoles. Remember the Division's Snowdrop engine showcase? Or Watch Dogs and its mind-blowing trailer at E3? For a moment in time, these games gripped the community and everybody was excited for the next evolution of achievable graphics. Then Watch Dogs released and it looked like, well, GTA San Andreas.
Sarcasm detected.
No, but really, these were both pivotal moments because it showed that not only are visuals a significant selling point for a lot of people, such that the closing of a car door mid-fight would set the whole fan base on fire, but that game developers would take this information and put it at the top of its priority list, even if it meant that gameplay and story suffered as a result. In my Stray video, which you should definitely check out, just a suggestion, no pressure, thank you for being here, feel free to subscribe, that'd be cool, I said this: we are in real danger of seeing a future in which we hit the proverbial graphical glass ceiling, and instead of looking to improve story or gameplay to compensate, game developers will continue to normalize the creation of these shallow, uninspired games shrouded under a blanket of graphical fidelity in order to fool the public. Is this the case with Horizon Forbidden West? Well, surprisingly no. There's real, measurable improvement here.
They call it a concussion beat party or something. Yeah, now that's music.
Big shout out to Guerrilla Games for this. For all the criticism this series, and frankly this genre as a whole, has gotten, I think it's fair to say that nobody can really claim they didn't evolve and do it better than they did before.
There are a few things on my wish list. Number 1, let us climb wherever we want. Can you turn Aloy's spear into an airbender staff? A lot of this game is basically Running Simulator 2017, and I know you can ride these horsey boys.
However, the fact that the visual difference between Zero Dawn and Forbidden West isn't very groundbreaking in scope paints an interesting foreshadowing of the future, in my opinion. Throughout the golden age of gaming, we witnessed some true leaps and bounds in technical achievement. BioShock Infinite came out in 2013, and there was no denying that these graphics, unveiled almost 10 years ago now, represented a true visual landmark in the video game landscape at the time. But the deep visuals and passable storyline unfortunately wasn't able to carry this game past its shallow core gameplay, and it definitely was not able to live up to the commanding standards set by BioShock 1. Some could argue that this line of logic also applies to Horizon Zero Dawn, so let me just outright say this now. I fucking loved Horizon Zero Dawn. I nearly 100%ed this bitch, okay? It took everything I love about the let's do what Far Cry 3 did category of games and combined it with a satisfying combat reminiscent of Monster Hunter. And on top of that, it gave us a likable hero in Aloy. You guys will very quickly learn that the one thing that really gets my gamer brain wet is some well-presented character development. I am so burnt out on starting every video game as this established badass on a mission. Just like Jason in Far Cry 3, Aloy starts out as practically a deer in headlights with zero sense of direction, only a purpose. With Forbidden West though, that's not the case. It takes place very quickly after the defense of Meridian. People openly refer to you as the savior of Meridian. They've even built a fucking statue out of you. So going into this game, I knew that with Aloy fully realized as a hero, Guerrilla Games would have to step it up because truth be told, the character development and the finale was the saving grace of Zero Dawn's meh storyline for me. This game was also straight up built and destined to be disliked by professional video game critics. This style of game has become so done to death that it is frankly a surprise when a new game releases that doesn't follow this formula. But at least Forbidden West is actually trying to push the bar out here. When you have later Far Cry's literally copy and pasting maps from their previous games and big budget developers littering their maps with copy-paste content to inflate game length, seeing an evolution in a sequel for once in an era where sequels are nothing more than cash grabs is a little refreshing. Horizon Forbidden West is a game that I'm going to continue to play long after this video has been posted. That is not to say Forbidden West is without any criticism. On the contrary, I have plenty of it. Circling back to my thesis for a moment, I feel like we have reached the point where if graphics in games are represented by a grand painting, the overall painting is complete. Everything following is just touch-ups or corrections. Okay, make things break when you hit them. Now make the water look like water. Don't forget to make your hair look good. Don't worry about it. Working with this fine level of detail opens you up to glitches and bad animations, of which I had several in Forbidden West.
Vision. You need medical attention.
The Horizon series is also the only series where, to my knowledge, the voice acting found in the optional collectibles is somehow better than the fucking cutscenes.
Shit! Safety switches won't disengage. No time to do it manually. It's over. I failed. God, if you're listening, look out for my little girl.
Ulvund has agreed to personally pay every worker their lost wages.
Yeah.
That's more like it.
Yeah. Woo.
The current dark age of gaming is underlined by this tug of war between developers and the very products that they are creating. Hey boss, we made the game look amazing and it broke everything. Ah, fuck it, we'll fix it later. The silent cost of big budget graphics is big budget repairs. I mean, so many massive titles have released in buggy, barely playable states that you'd be hard pressed these days to find a game that actually works properly on release. But there is hope. There is, in fact, a light in the darkness. While current AAA games are indicative of some of the darkest times in gaming to date, indie developers and the titles that they are producing have realized the price of these graphics. Not monetary, but sacrificial. Gameplay and story continue to suffer as a result of this visual rat race, and indie developers, while certainly capable of these next level graphics, are seemingly drawing a line in the sand, seeking to remind us what makes a video game fun, to remind us why we fell in love with games to begin with. Return of the Obra Dinn is an incredible tour de force. The sound design, the gameplay, the story. This was designed by one fucking person. And the voice acting. Lucas Pope hired a bunch of no-named locals and they still did a better job than damn near everyone in Forbidden West.
Captain, open the door. Kick it in. Ah, lest we break it down and take more than those shells.
Inscription, Hades, Outer Wilds. These are some of the most incredible games you can play right now, and the beauty of these indie games is that they are not designed to...
There's a little something for everyone.
I just listed a mystery detective game, a horror card game, a roguelike beat-em-up, and a space exploration game. All incredible titles with their own sense of pacing and storytelling without the sticker shock of games like Forbidden West or Returnal. I try my best to live my life with as much variety as possible, trying out new things whenever I can, and it's thanks to this curiosity that I've been exposed to truly incredible experiences that really help me appreciate things like big budget titles that we take for granted but are done correctly, like Horizon Forbidden West. I hope I can inspire some of you to do the same. Please give some of these incredible games a shot, and do try out Forbidden West if that's your style of game, because Guerrilla Games really did a great job here. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
That when we are united, we can overcome any threat. Join me. Join us in that conviction. as we strive for a nation and a world without want or war.